Just to reiterate what everybody else has been saying, we are so happy you're here for the second week of our 7-week mindfulness transformation group coaching class. That is a mouthful. But for Tricia and I, Zanka and Liz, and I think I can safely say for all of us, this class couldn't have come at a better time. All of us are having challenges these days. There are people in our lives who are struggling. And I imagine if we went around our Zoom classroom, each of us would have something in our lives we're distressed about. We can't escape problems and challenges because that's part of the package of life on earth. But in a world of complete uncertainty, there's one thing I know to be true, and that is that we're all connected and that we are here to help each other, and that the health of our relationships is the key to our overall health. So, our intention and hope is that you'll leave this course with something that'll help you lead a healthier and more meaningful life. But today, I want to talk to you about the health of our minds. If you're of an age like me, you'll remember a fundraising ad by the United Negro College Fund whose tagline was, "A mind is a terrible thing to waste." Well, I would amend that today by saying, "A mind is a terrible thing to overlook." A lot goes on in our minds, and it's important to take note of what happens there. I often wonder what the difference is between the brain and the mind. In fact, I asked that very question of Richie Davidson, who is this week's podcast guest. And he made me feel better when he said, even he, a top neuroscientist who studies the brain, wasn't sure. But I like this explanation that uses the example of a computer. And it goes like this. A computer requires hardware to perform its function, and the hardware needs software to make it run. Without the software, the hardware would be useless, and vice versa. The brain is like the hardware on the computer, and the mind is like the software. One can't function without the other. The brain is the physical place the mind resides. The mind is the manifestation of thought, perception, emotion, determination, memory, and imagination that takes place in the brain. So, just as there are ways we can better take care of our brains, there are also ways we can better take care of our minds. And that's where mindfulness comes in. Those of you who have attended our conferences or workshops know that we always include mindfulness as an important tool, if not the most important tool we can use to stay healthy. The practice of mindfulness is in its pop culture moment for sure. It's everywhere, but it has been in existence in both Eastern and Western traditions for thousands of years in a variety of forms. And for thousands of years, people have been benefiting from mindfulness and meditation. Research now shows us that science is confirming these benefits. But many of us lead unconscious lives. Most of us spend our lives rushing from one thing to the next, thinking about the past and what we should have done, or thinking about the future and what we need to do, only to recognize that in reality, we've gained nothing and lost everything. What I mean is, by racing through life, we miss all the good things and ignore important messages about our life, our relationships, and our health. So, this true story says it all. In Washington, D.C., at a metro station before COVID, when we were out and about and in metro stations, on a cold January morning, a man with a violin played 6 Bach pieces for about 45 minutes. During that time, over 1,000 people went through the station, most on their way to work. This man played his violin continuously for 45 minutes. Of the 1,000 plus people who walked by, only 7 stopped and listened for a short while. 20 more gave money but continued to walk at a normal pace. The man collected a total of $32.17. He finished playing and silence took over. No one noticed and no one applauded. There really was no recognition at all. No one knew this, but the violinist was Joshua Bell, one of the greatest musicians in the world. He played one of the most intricate pieces ever written with a violin worth $3.5 million. 2 days before, Joshua Bell sold out a theater in Boston where the seats averaged $100 each to sit and listen to him play the same music. Joshua Bell was playing incognito in the DC metro station as part of a social experiment on mindfulness. So the question is, if we don't have a moment to stop and listen to one of the best musicians in the world, playing some of the finest music ever written with one of the most beautiful instruments ever made, how many other things are we missing as we rush through life? And not only do we miss things, but we ride the fast train to nowhere. And we're actually compromising our health at the same time. This accelerated pace of life causes chronic stress. With stress, our built-in mechanism to respond to threatening situations, our fight or flight response is activated all the time, causing our immune systems to be suppressed and opening the door to all kinds of diseases. But we don't have to be rushing all the time. There really is another way to live. John Kabat-Zinn, a leader in the field of mind-body health, defines mindfulness this way. Mindfulness is paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally, and we like to add with kindness. It's simply moment-to-moment awareness, and you can practice it with any activity in your life. When we're mindful, we witness our emotions, our ups and downs, and become aware of our reactions to things. When we become observers without judgment, we take the power away from the upset or the emotion, and we begin to cultivate a calmness and strength. Eckhart Tolle, spiritual author, said it simply: right now, I'm okay. The more fully you inhabit the now, the more okay you are. When we're running on all cylinders, mindfulness can restore our wholeness and keep us well. And by the way, mindfulness, as you probably know, is not limited to a meditation pillow. It can be practiced out in nature, on our drive to work, in our mundane daily tasks, and as we're learning with co-mindfulness in our relationships. Each moment of our lives, from the most mundane to the most exhilarating, is an opportunity to become more mindful. Here are some simple things that I would recommend that you try throughout the day. While you're brushing your teeth, feel the stimulation of the brush on your gums, the taste and smell of the toothpaste, and the coolness of the water when you rinse your mouth. When you're eating, feel the texture of the food in your mouth and the various flavors and aromas. Try not to think about other things while you're eating, and don't think about your next bite until you've savored the current one completely. And this is one we've been practicing this week. When talking with someone, really listen and hear what they're saying without judging them, without thinking about what you want to say. Because as I've discovered this week, and you may have too, people want to be seen, heard, and to know they matter. And this very morning, I tried something different, a mindful listening walk. I have a little dog, Huey, who nudges me to get outside. And at the crack of dawn, leaving my phone behind, he and I ventured out. Fortunately, behind my house, I have a park trail that I access behind my neighbor's house. Off we went to simply listen. And the first thing I noticed was the crunch of the snow under my boots. And then I became aware of the different bird melodies coming from above and below. And from there, I noticed the whisper of the breeze around me. And when the breeze picked up and it became wind, I heard the sound of the icy bits hanging onto the branches come crashing down. And as I approached the stream that runs through the park, I heard the shallow water cascading over the rocky stream bed. And as I reached the end of the trail, I heard human life happening, cars moving over pavement, rushing to get someplace. And from there, I turned back to return home. After the walk, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for nature, for the gift of hearing, for a way to create space in my day, and for life itself. So the point is, there are so many ways to practice mindfulness. And when you find what works for you, it can be life-changing. Breathing is also a powerful tool we can use to reduce stress and anxiety while promoting relaxation, calm, and inner peace. Dr. Weil says breath is the key to health and wellness, a function we can learn to regulate and develop in order to improve our physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. Breathing gives us life by bringing oxygen to our tissues and by stimulating our relaxation response. Just pausing throughout the day to take a few full, deep breaths makes us feel good and is good for our health. And sometimes I like to set a timer on my watch or my phone, which is a good reminder just to breathe. Excuse me, breath work is very big now, but it's of course not new. Our favorite technique at BB&R for anxiety, stress, and insomnia is the 4-7-8. And it's really simple. You exhale completely through your mouth, and then you inhale through your nose for a count of 4. You hold your breath for a count of 7, and then exhale through your mouth for a count of 8. So I thought we should give it a try tonight, and I'll do the counting. So let's exhale completely through our mouth. And then inhale through your nose for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath for a count of 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then exhale through your mouth for a count of 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you can do this several times in a row, and doing this technique or techniques like it on a regular basis really does decrease anxiety. It can help you sleep better. It can help control emotional responses, and on and on. And so we recommend some kind of breath work. And finally, there's meditation. And meditation is the formal practice of mindfulness. It's simply learning to quiet our busy minds and learning to focus our attention using our breath. It's taking the time to stop, to be still, and to be deliberately mindful. I don't know about you, but there have been times in my life, many times, when I've had a head full of crazy thoughts. And when I say crazy, I'm not kidding. And just to prove it to you, I recorded my thoughts one morning. They went like this, but please don't judge me. Today is going to be a great day. I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to get organized. And I'm going to answer all my emails. All those emails. I get so many emails. I should have answered some of them yesterday. Oh my God, I'm never going to get to them all. I think I'm actually hungry though. Again, I'm going to eat a salad today though, but I'll probably eat the cookies too, and I'll get fatter. Do not eat the cookies, you idiot. My sister-in-law's anorexic, but at least she's skinny. I'll never be skinny. She hasn't eaten a cookie since 1970. I've eaten pounds of cookies since then. Ah, and on it goes. And so our minds become a storyteller, and it tells stories that aren't necessarily true. These stories and thoughts are what have us losing our temper or checking our phones incessantly or eating donut holes when you're not hungry, which I may or may not have done recently. Most of us assume that we're stuck with these thoughts or this voice that Dan Harris calls, and I'm going to say a bad word, the asshole in my head. But the truth is, we're not. When we meditate, we don't and can't suppress our thoughts, but we can become loving observers of these thoughts. We can acknowledge our thoughts without judgment and let them go. Sitting in meditation, to be honest, can be hard because we're used to rushing and achieving, and just sitting is against our nature. It can also be uncomfortable because it can bring up painful things like fears, guilt, disappointments, and losses. But it's worth the effort. By training our minds, we can learn to calm the turbulence we all have in our heads. We don't want to block our thoughts out, nor do we want to feed them indefinitely. We do want to let them rise and dissolve on their own. We ideally want to become loving observers of our thoughts and then just let them go. Interestingly, we don't find anything strange about spending years learning to read or write or learning professional skills or working on our physical bodies at the gym because we think this will benefit us in the long run. But it's really our mind that creates our experience of the world. So the question is, why don't we spend more time training our minds? If we transform the way we perceive things, we transform the quality of our lives. And at the top of that list is better health. Meditation does take practice, but the good news is there is no wrong way to do it. And you don't have to be a yogi sitting on a mountaintop to meditate. And there are lots of different techniques you can try. You may have joined us on Sunday, and if not, you're welcome to join us. But on Sundays, we do guided meditations because it's an easy technique that uses visualization to bring about awareness. The important thing is to just try it because it's time for yourself that has enormous spiritual, emotional, and health benefits. We need to remember that our attention is a precious resource, and the quality of our lives is determined by how we use our attention. There was a Harvard study that determined that our mind wanders 47% of the time. That's half our life we're missing out on. Perfection isn't possible, we know that, but transformation really is. We can always learn and grow, and mindfulness and co-mindfulness can help us tremendously. So thank you.
Bye.
I know.
I think my group's coming back.
I know, man. The time flew by.
That was fast.
Yeah. So, Alexandra, you're going to be sharing for the Transformational Titans, and we're going to keep the shares to pretty briefly, maybe to a minute and a half each, so that we can close on time. So, we'll wait a few more minutes because we don't have everybody back from the group.
Co-mindfulness crew's back.
Okay.
We're here.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome.
Okay, Liz is here.
Okay.
Yeah, I think my mindful mavericks are here. Yes,
Okay,
we
there
are.
we go.
Okay.
Oh, there's Dora's groups.
Very cool.
Okay.
Yeah. When you see that thing, you can actually just click to leave, or you can wait till the 60 seconds.
Okay. Yeah, we left halfway through.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. All right. So we're just going to have a 1-minute share from each of the groups about any kind of salient takeaways from the group. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're doing next week and also answer any questions you guys have on the platform. So the Titans, we're going to go first. Alexander is going to do the share for us.
Hey.
Sure. Okay, so it was very beautiful and there were a lot of insights. Some of the insights, listening is hard. And we became aware of a lot of distractions, of a lot of frustrations. Also, we'll learn about sometimes we want to guess what our husbands are going to say, or the partner that the one that we're partnering, because we're not listening. So we think we already want to jump in and the sentence. So a lot of our team members became aware of that. Also, pausing and listening makes us slow down, and that sensation was very good for our group as well. So we all enjoyed the videos and all the content. Also, another thing was that feeling that feeling guilty of not being in the moment, and feeling that we are missing out on those moments when we become aware of not being present. Another thing that came out is about connection, how we have that deep connection when we're truly there and truly listening, and how it is hard to be in the present moment. Another thing, I think it's about how in our group we became aware of our wanting to fix things instead of just listening and having the opportunity of the other one, being curious. And I think that was about it, but it was a very, very beautiful sharing within. Is there anything else you think?
No, that's good. Yeah, we just want to share one or two kind of tidbits.
Okay.
That was beautiful.
Thank you, Alexandra.
We had such a beautiful session. Yeah. Okay, the Mindful Mavericks are up next.
We have Bryn.
Okay, Bryn.
Bryn.
Yes, I got the call up. Okay, so it was really interesting to hear everyone in our group talk, because there was so much overlap in what we were all experiencing this week, despite everyone choosing someone who fills a different role in their life. So whether that be, a partner or a child or a sibling, everyone seemed to have very similar takeaways, mostly being that, this is like an inherently simple concept that presents a really big challenge because of how intentional and present you have to try to be. And Liz made a great point that it's really hard to feel like you have to, show up all the time for someone. And it can be taxing to try to show up and be present. And the big takeaway from our group was that it was much easier to be present when we put our phones down, or when we were conversing with the person without having some distraction. And that went for, siblings and partners and with kids as well. So just putting that phone down and putting your eyes on the person as opposed to on your device.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Well put. All right, the
Okay.
Co-Mindfulness crew.
Woo,
Here we
woo, woo.
go.
So we have our Mr. Jack is our leader tonight.
Jack. Awesome. Thanks, Jack.
This would be a lot easier if my wife weren't one of the participants. So a few takeaways from today's meeting, and a few notable quotables, I think. Some of us were alone this week. Some of us had difficulty practicing mindfulness. These are challenging times for us all during COVID. Some of us are basking in that solitude. Some of us are testing mindfulness on multiple people to find out who it works best on. We recommend using the co-mindfulness log in order to keep practicing giving our full attention. It's hard enough to give attention when there's tension. Sometimes being present for someone else can open you up to sharing of profound loss. And giving your attention is powerful, so use it wisely. And lastly, kiss when you can.
Thank you, Jack. Great job.
Awesome. Doro, the Transformers, who
Yeah.
do you have for your leader?
Well, this week it's me.
Okay, perfect.
And we talked about the importance of body language. We talked about when we're not heard, we'd sort of rather not listen. We talked about the fact that no one really knows how to give full attention. We talked about how poorly we listen and how we run around on autopilot, missing things, important things. We talked about the fact that you can't choose what's important for the other person.
Yes.
And we talked about patience in listening with patience, because sometimes it's hard, maybe with older people or difficult situations. And then we talked about listening at difficult times, maybe at the end of the day when you've been working all day and they're exhausted, but the positive things that can come from forcing yourself to listen during those difficult times.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks for that share. So we just have a few minutes. We ran a little bit late today, so we're going to kind of condense. I'm going to just share my screen for 1 minute, show you what we're up to next week. We're going to do one quick breathing thing. And then if anybody needs further questions, assistance, will be around for 15 minutes after. So next week is leading with curiosity, not judgment. So this is really giving yourself a non-judgmental framing and also your partner, because how are they going to expand and grow if you've got them in a box? So this is curiosity. It's actually a brain state that we experience. When your brain is in curiosity, you remember better, you learn better, and you release dopamine. So we're really asking you guys to stay curious this week. I'm going to show you. So when you go into the Sutra platform and you log in, you're going to go to week 2 on the sidebar. You're going to see it's very small amount of material because we just have one thing to learn this week, which is this. You're going to watch the 2-minute video, read the things. There's a little funny clip, which is hilarious. And then here's your group discussion, right? Question right here, which again, you're going to access over here in the discussion forum. And here's your weekend buddy call prompt. How are you managing to stay open and curious with your partner? Is it changing the dynamics? Okay. And if you want to do the private journal, do you tend to judge yourself? What makes you curious about your future? How can you be more playful with yourself? So that private journal question, again, if you're doing it online, is down here in this private area, my progress and journal. And I want to implore, beg, and please ask that everyone please do the initial wellness evaluation, because this is where you're going to see what you've done in the 7 weeks. So we want to know where you're at right now and where you're going to be at the end. So make sure this week, if you haven't done it, go ahead and take the initial wellness evaluation. And if you haven't clarified your goals, you're going to want to do that. So that's it. A reminder that we have Richie Davidson on our podcast this week, and Doro will be leading meditation on Sunday if anyone wants to join us. And we'll close with the 4-7-8 breathing, which we'll do twice tonight, and then we'll be closing. So thanks everyone for showing up. Thanks for all your hard work with your partner. Again, if you haven't printed this out, do that so you can kind of jot down your notes on your curiosity this week. So Doro, go ahead and take it away.
Okay, so the 4-7-8. So we want to exhale completely through your mouth. Then inhale through your nose for a count of 4. Hold your breath for a count of 7. 2, 3, 4. Exhale through your mouth for a count of 8.
Oh, no, you gotta eat it.
It's really simple. So that's that.
Okay,
Thank
sorry,
you.
not sure. Okay, how to mute here. We got some background noises, but okay. All right, you guys.
Thank you.
Liz had a quick quote, but we really need to close. Liz, did you want to?
Yes, I'm going to share this quote, and
Thank
everyone
you, Liz.
and everyone can guess the actor who came up with this quote. I'm going to leave it open. Here we're going to go.
Okay.
One of the most important keys to acting is curiosity. I am curious to the point of being nosy. All people contain mystery, and you want to plume that mystery until everything is known to you. Any guesses?
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Woody
Close.
Harrelson.
Close? No.
Give us the initials.
Anyone else?
Gary Oldman.
Anthony Hopkins.
MS. MS. The initials are
Martin
MS.
Sheen.
Martin Sheen.
Ooh, close. No. Female.
Meryl Streep.
Meryl Streep.
Meryl Streep. Oh, love her.
Meryl Streep. Yes, Meryl Streep.
Thank you.
I love the idea of pluming the mystery.
Thank you. Yeah. Very
Awesome,
nice.
you guys.
Well, it's 8 o'clock. So those that have to get off and need to get off, good night and thank you. And for those that can stay on and have questions, please feel free to stay.
We have a special guest next week that you're going to love meeting. So,
yes. So
we'll
and everybody
look forward to
was
seeing
here right on time. So he'll start right away. So,
Great.
and he's going to be talking about, and Bryn, you're going to like this discussion. It's all about posture and the importance of why, what posture means to us in the picture of health.
It's
so we're excited.
It's surprising information.
Yes, very surprising. So thank you. So
Thanks, everyone.
yeah, thank you. But if you're staying, we'd love to have you stay. Okay.
If you have
Good
any
night, everybody.
questions, Yeah.
Night.
Awesome.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone. And thanks for being here. Glad you're Jenny.
You.